Hey guys, it's Dani. Today I'm going to show you another 4 mini or rather small Cattleya orchids for your collection, for your windowsill. These are orchids that fit anywhere and they grow beautifully in home conditions. Now this will be a sort of part 2. It's gonna be a mini series, I guess. I love mini orchids and I love mini Cattleyas, and I know many of you do and have always asked me to make videos about them. So whenever I have more mini Cattleyas to show you, definitely there's another episode. If you missed the first, let's say, part or episode of this mini series, check it down below. You will see there 4 other mini Cattleyas that I think are absolutely gorgeous. So after you finish this video, you might want to check that one out. But today I have 4 new ones for you guys. 2 of them you don't know, 2 you might know. But anyway, they are just as easy to care for and just as lovely. So before we start, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it. And why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week and it's completely free. But if you're feeling a little bit extra and you wish to further support the channel, and you can, do consider becoming a member and getting access to some exclusive videos such as behind the scenes or orchid spotlights. Also, you can use the affiliate links that I always have linked in the description, and that really helps me out. You can also get some merch. Currently we have some beautiful orchid mugs, 3 new orchid mugs added to the collection with orchids chosen by you guys, and you can also use the super thanks option below my videos. Right, let's start, shall we? What do we start with? Let's start with something you already know if you've watched my videos. If you're new, you might not know this one. So first orchid that I have here to show you is the Cattleya Tangerine Fire Mini Sun. Now this orchid is on her way out, as you can see. Funny thing, the ants pollinated it, so I have a seed pod forming. So the flowers didn't last all that long because they got pollinated by ants. If you didn't know, usually when you have seed pods forming, the flowers fade. And don't get too excited because sowing orchid seeds is not easy. I'm not going to go into the details because it's not the topic of today, but you need to go through a whole process of sterilizing your materials and getting special growing medium to sow them. It's not easy, not impossible, but there's a lot to learn about it. So I'm not necessarily happy to see a seed pod, but I do have this orchid filmed when it was in her glory, and this is that orchid that I told you guys has a translucent, let's say, effect to the flowers. It looks like matted glass. It's absolutely stunning. I absolutely adore this orchid, and the sheer number of flowers it can produce compared to the size of the orchid, it's quite incredible, I would say. Now, I will have to warn you, cameras do not do it justice. I know that on camera it does appear to be quite orange and quite opaque, but in reality, it has a sheen to it. It has a purple or pink sheen on top of that orangey peachiness, which makes it like matte glass. It's so hard to capture its beauty with cameras. I've tried with my phone and with my camera, but I cannot really show you the true self of this orchid. So you will just have to believe me when I tell you it has a glaucous almost quality to it that makes it matte and peachy and just a little bit see-through. In reality, it's not really all that orange. And as you can see, the size, it's even a little bit smaller than my palm. She is such a tiny orchid, but I do find her to be quite a vigorous grower. I purchased this one last year in August, and it's already blooming and it has such a wonderful bloom. Quite a few little flowers here, and with a bit of luck, in my new home I will not have ants issues. But this time, yeah, the flowers did not last long because I see they're all swelling up except this one. This one doesn't look like it's swelling up, but the others, they look like they have been pollinated, so they're fading. I don't think it's a self-pollination issue, I think it's the ants. But overall, it takes the same care as any other Cattleya orchid, and you will have a tutorial down below in the description for beginners. If you don't know about Cattleyas, check that one out and you learn everything you need to know. I keep these in my Milsbo Ikea cabinet. They are growing under artificial light and they grow very, very well, but they will do just as well with natural light. Being that they're Cattleyas, they do enjoy brighter light, but definitely you can grow them under artificial light as well. Be it proper grow light or kitchen light or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a spotlight on it, it should do absolutely fine. I think it is the type of orchid that grows one pseudobulb per year. I don't think it has multiple growths, being that I have it for 8 months at this point and we only have one pseudobulb matured and a bloom, and I don't see yet signs, or maybe I do see a new growth starting, but yeah, I would say this is not a very fast grower, but it does seem to be pretty robust, so I can definitely recommend it. It is not fragrant, by the way. I did not detect anything, so maybe some of you will be happy about it, but definitely she is very charming and fits everywhere and anywhere. Let's move on to another orchid that is sadly not in bloom anymore, but don't worry, I have some footage with it. This is the wonderful Cattlianthe. I think it's shortened the name and I'm not sure. I think it's Cattlianthe Chief Berry. You're gonna have the name on the screen on a tag. This little orchid is magnificent. Again, you can see it's a tiny orchid, but the flowers are quite big, unlike the fire tangerine. The flowers on this orchid are 5 times as big, and this orchid does not create such a cluster of blooms. I had, I do believe, 2 flowers on this one on my last inflorescence, but the color and the pattern and that beautiful contrast between the yellow lip and the bright magenta-ish, let's say, color of the flowers is absolutely adorable. Now, I said magenta, but the thing is, it's not quite a magenta. It's somewhere in between red and magenta. Again, cameras will have some issues picking up either colors. You might get your phone to pick up more of a magenta color and another camera more of the red color. It really just depends, but it has a beautiful, intense and very vibrant coloration, and the flowers are quite large. It is again not fragrant, but I do believe the appeal is in the flowers, and this one, unlike the previous one, this one does have more of a continuous type of growth. I have her again since last year, since June, and it grew 2 growths for me. They both bloom. Well, one of them had buds, but the buds didn't make it due to some ant activity, besides the point. But anyway, it completely matured 2 growths in the almost year, let's say, that I had it. So definitely, it's not one of those Cattleyas that blooms once a year or produces growth once a year, and you could expect multiple blooms on each direction of growth per year. It is one of my favorites because those flowers have a square type of a shape to them, and even though they're not really square, they have a distinct shape to them that I absolutely enjoy, and I really think it is quite unique. Again, very easy to care for and grows much faster than the previous orchid I showed you. I keep it again in the same cabinet. All of these orchids have been in the same cabinet actually, under artificial light, under the same conditions, takes typical Cattleya care. I will say this for all of them, so consider I already said it. I would not show you these orchids if I found them to be finicky in any way and hard to bloom, or they have this really bad quality. Usually if you can take care of any Cattleya, you can take care of these guys as well. I'm sure there will be environments which are not very suited for Cattleyas, but as I was saying, you can supplement light with some artificial light. I have them in a cabinet. The light is inside. That cabinet tends to stay more warm, and these guys like warm, so there are ways to get around it. But yeah, if you try to grow them cool and shady, you will not get flowers, but that's valid for any Cattleya. So do check out that tutorial if you're new to Cattleyas, but once you get acquainted with them, I don't think you should have issues with these guys. Right, I think it's time to take a break because I'm running out of battery. I'm seeing, and I don't want to be caught by surprise. All right, we did a quick battery change. Maybe the angle is not the same, but let's continue. The next orchid that I have to show you, look at this. It's so beautiful. Okay, this is an orchid I've had for a while, but she was quite set back. This is SLC, probably has been renamed because of rhinitis, is now Cattleya Jillicoc crossed with Laelia cinnabarina. I will see if it has a registered name. If not, we're just gonna keep the cross name, naming her by her parents. This is a wonderful golden Cattleya. Look at her. And this year is the first time she blooms for me, and what an impressive show. I have 4 flower spikes because I have 4 directions of growth on this orchid. So as I was saying, I have her for quite a few years, but it has been quite young when I purchased it, and also quite set back because it did not have good roots, I remember. So it took a little bit to root. Cattleyas can take a little bit to root, but in the end, once they get established, they become strong. And since it was just not very vigorous, not very established, it did not bloom. Now I see 2 to 3 flowers or buds on each cane, so I'm guessing that's a normal amount of flowers to have, but I'm hoping maybe to have a little bit more because we have that Laelia cinnabarina in its parentage. So this orchid might actually be able to put on a little bit of a better show, but this year's show is not shabby either. Now, this one and this one just opened. This one has been open for a few days. As the flowers mature, they get a little bit bigger, they stretch a little bit more, so maybe by the time that I upload this video, we're gonna have all of the other buds open as well, and the show will be a little bit better. But what a wonderful and beautiful color we have here. Absolutely adore it. There is no fragrance. Imagine how this one would be if it smelled like lemons, right? But it doesn't. It's not fragrant, but that is okay. Again, we are dealing with a very tiny orchid that has quite elongated and thin leaves as well. It has thin pseudobulbs as well. It's a unifoliate as far as I can tell. And the color is absolutely magical. It's so vibrant. It's quite a golden color. Now, when the flowers first open, they have a little bit of a red or orange to them. They have a little bit of orange veining, but as the flowers mature, they do not have that red veining. They become more of a golden color. They have some traces of that red vein, especially in the lip, but not as much as when they first open. Now, this orchid now seems to be very vigorous and grows multiple growths per year, but in the beginning, as I was saying, it was severely set back. I had crinkled growth. It was not a good time quite at all, and I was under the impression that this is a finicky orchid, but I do believe it was just very stressed. Now I have no issues with it. I have blooms and already have almost mature growths already, which with a bit of luck, they have buds inside as well. It's not one of those orchids that produces a sheath and you have to wait like a year to have something in the sheath. No, it buds immediately. So it blooms multiple times a year with good care. It grows multiple directions. I see it has 4 or 5 directions of growth now. And being that it's tiny, I don't need to divide it to make it fit anywhere. And the more growths I have on my orchid, the more flowers I will have as well. So I think this will become quite the star, literally, of my collection. Do you see what I mean? This one has more of a star-shaped flower. I love both of these shapes, like the square shape and the star shape. This will be the star of my mini Cattleya collection. I predict, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I love gold. It would have been so good if it had a fragrance, but it doesn't. It's okay. So now that it's completely rejuvenated, it grows very well for me. And I didn't do anything in particular other than offer it good Cattleya type care, and I just let it grow and mature. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I can 100% recommend it to you guys because it is very vigorous now. I took my time with it and it paid off, and just look at those blooms. Sunshine in a planter, isn't she? She's like a little bouquet of daffodils. I'm so excited about this one. You can tell, I think it's the first time that I get to show this one to you. Ever since the first bloom opened, I was dying to film it. But I think we blabbed enough about it, right? Let's move on to our last orchid. This is not necessarily what I would call a mini Cattleya, but compared to other Cattleyas, it is quite tiny. Let's call her a small Cattleya. You will see this one described on the internet as miniature Cattleya as well, but you can see there is quite a difference in size. Nonetheless, it is quite tiny. It's not gonna grow super tall, and from what I see on the internet, it's absolutely worth having. It's one of the more popular hybrids. This is Cattlianthe Jewel Box Dark Waters, and some of you that already know orchids might know this one already. It appears to be a very popular hybrid, an older hybrid as far as I understand, and there are quite a few variations or cultivars of it in the hobby. But one thing is for sure, I've known about the existence of this orchid for a long time. I just didn't have, the opportunity to find it in stock. But that's a good thing with orchids. They will get restocked at some point, even after 5 years. So I finally found it in stock, and here she is. Now, it just opened, so part of this video will be filmed at a different date when the flowers will be fully open, but I will not have time to film like this then, so I decided to include it in this video. The Jewel Box Dark Waters is a reddish purplish or magenta type of an orchid, which has star-shaped flowers and can definitely put on a better show than this. This is the first time this orchid blooms, and it's the orchid that initially, when I purchased it, and I purchased it last year, it produced what I thought was a flower spike, but it decided to be another cane or pseudobulb on top of an existing pseudobulb. Some of you might remember, this is the one. But in the meantime, she grew another pseudobulb, which is a lot more mature and bigger than the previous one, and it also decided to bloom. She's quite a fast grower as far as I can see. Bonus, as I read on the internet, the flowers can also be fragrant, although some people consider it not so fragrant, or they don't like the fragrance, and others think it smells like roses. So what I will do is make a pause here and re-record some narration a little more in the future and tell you exactly if this one is fragrant, and if it is, how it smells like. Hi, Narration Danny here. So it has been about 6 days since I filmed what you previously saw, and I have to tell you, my orchid is not fragrant. If I stick my nose into the flower, I can detect something extremely mild, maybe a little bit floral. Definitely though, I would not call this orchid fragrant. So either we have some variation within the individuals available on the market, or maybe even within the cultivars, or because this is a young orchid, it's the first time it blooms, maybe fragrance has not been developed. We will see future blooms, how they are, how this orchid matures, and if there is a change, I will put it in a pinned comment under this video. If there is no pinned comment, it means nothing changed. But yeah, for now, there is no fragrance, sadly, but that's okay. Typically, mini Cattleyas are not known for their fragrance since they have a particular parent that keeps them tiny, which is not fragrant. But in lack of fragrance, they excel in other ways, especially the looks. Alrighty, so I'm hoping I have good news. At the moment, it doesn't really smell much, but the flowers just opened. We're gonna film it when the flowers will be fully open. But if you put these two together, do you see what a beautiful rainbow of colors we have here? And together with the other ones, which sadly I don't have in bloom now, I think it's just amazing. Imagine a shelf only of these tinier orchids. Now again, this one was grown in my shelf under artificial light. It doesn't take anything special regarding care, it's just typical Cattleya care. And since it is such an incredibly popular awarded hybrid as well, I'm guessing it is vigorous. Usually the awards go for orchids that not only are special and look good, but also are vigorous. Vigorousness and, let's say, the quality of the hybrid, if you will, is, to my understanding, a very important aspect when judging orchids and, you know, how they grow and so on. So I expect great things from the Jewel Box in the future, and I do believe, or I am confident, that it belongs in the series and that it is one of those orchids that I can recommend to everybody. Even though it is the biggest orchid you see here, it's still not very big. So these were the 4 mini Cattleyas that I have for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Let me know which one is your favorite down below. I have more mini cats, but again, I'm waiting to make another, let's say, compilation of 4 mini Cattleyas to show you, because I went through a phase of purchasing a lot of mini cats and they're all starting to bloom and get established now. So hopefully I'm gonna come back with more mini Cattleyas very soon. But if you've enjoyed this video, let me know and I will continue the series. Don't forget to watch the first video of the series. I'll link you to it down below for 4 other amazing mini Cattleyas, one of which is, let's just call it my first ever Cattleya. It's a wonderful Cattleya. You have to watch that video. It's absolutely amazing if you love Cattleyas. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me today and learning about these wonderful mini wonders. And stay tuned for another episode in this series. I hope you'll have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!